Hey, what's up guys? Everything Apple Pro here, turning to the dark side, soon to be everything Samsung Pro, and I'm switching to the Galaxy S20 Ultra today. So in this video, I'd like to talk about why this is happening, what I hope to gain from this experiment. It's part of a challenge that I did last year. I want to do this every single year and actually fully immerse myself in the Android experience coming from Samsung's latest and greatest, the $1,400 S20 Ultra. So I'll be switching from my 11 Pro, which was a downgrade from my Pro Max. Now I'm thinking I need a bigger phone again because the battery life is just not that good on that one. And I'll be going the full distance, so I'm switching to the Galaxy Active 2, the watch, and the Galaxy Buds Plus, replacing my AirPods Pro. I really want to immerse myself in Samsung's ecosystem. So a lot's changed this year. The variables are different, and we've got the 120 Hertz display on the front, as well as that insane camera on the back, a bigger display. It just seems like a much better experience, and the new Android One UI 2 is a huge improvement in the gestures, a lot more like the iPhone. So I think this transition, it actually might keep me here until the new iPhone gets 120 Hertz later in September. We'll certainly see, but it's mandatory I stick around for 2 weeks. And before we begin, I do want to mention I'm still running the giveaway for the 3 Galaxy S20 Ultras, so just a few days to go on that one, and you can perform this experiment with me. Also, a word from our sponsor. And thanks to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring our S20 Ultra case. Are you guys tired of games that are too cartoonish? Raid Shadow Legends is a raw, dark, and awesome RPG crawler. It's very similar to Final Fantasy. The graphics are great, your champions can be upgraded over time in multiple ways to play. The campaign is fully voiced and follows your characters as you upgrade them over time while battling multiple enemies. There's also player versus player mode where you can battle your friends in an arena. There's also a dungeon crawling mode, clan boss mode, and more. Gameplay is fun and responsive, and now you can play Raid Shadow Legends on your desktop with even better graphics using the same user. Go to the description, click on the special links, and if you're a new player, you'll get 100,000 silver and a free champion slasher. If you hurry, maybe you can even join my clan at EAP Boss. What are you waiting for? All right, so let's be clear here. The number one reason I'm upgrading to the S20 Ultra, and upgrading or migrating, I'm not sure, is the 120 Hertz display. This display technology is the most beautiful thing to happen to smartphones within the last few years. It's silky smooth. After you go from this back to the iPhone, you really start to notice that Apple is lacking in this technology. This is Samsung's latest Super AMOLED display combined with 120 Hertz. It makes scrolling, just opening things, closing them, animations, wherever animations are concerned, a pure delight. Opening and closing, I love it. Just normal things on your phone suddenly become a lot more exciting. And that's something supposedly happening to this year's iPhone, and why I think this feature alone might win me over to the Samsung side. Now, of course, I'll still have a backup phone that I'll use for like some of the services I cannot get on this phone. For example, Apple Notes, that's synced between all of my computers. I don't like the alternatives, that's number one. But as my primary device, it will be the Ultra. Another thing is I'm just ready to experience something new, some sort of customization. I like the idea that I can place apps anywhere I want. I like that syncing with the Galaxy Watch, it can keep my phone open, not lock it up within proximity of the watch. It's these little things on the Android side that seem very exciting to me as an iPhone user where we're in this walled garden. I'm sure the customization will wear off in a few days. It's nothing that special. It's like a jailbroken iPhone. Cool at first, but then you just get used to it. And then what really matters is the stability and how things run. Now last year, this was my S10 Plus that I used, and it was all right. Honestly, there were a number of things that I didn't like about it, and one of those being the gestures. Now Samsung has added gestures very similar to the iPhone. They've improved upon it with Samsung One UI 2. Let's say it now has a back gesture. So you can swipe back just like on the iPhone, one of the most useful things on the iPhone. Unfortunately, there's no forward swipe. That would have been cool. But even the gestures, that's something they improved that makes the S20 Ultra just that much more livable. Another thing I really appreciate compared to the 11 Pro Max is that the phone is not as wide. So it sits in your hand more comfortably. The actual screen to body ratio is much higher, almost 90% compared to Apple here with the notch. It looks a lot more futuristic. I like that. Just the phone looks current. I like that the display doesn't wrap around the edges as much as this one, something that really bothered me on the S10 Plus, so that is something they fixed. The comfort of this phone is just much nicer. I like the display being taller, not wider. Something Apple certainly needs to work on with the 2020 iPhone. And then of course, one of the other big reasons is we're developing a case, so it's something I'm gonna have to use with our 3D prints right now. This way I can fully experience the case, the phone, before selling it to anyone else. And that's something I'm personally very excited about too. And that brings me to the camera. So the camera on the S20 Ultra versus the 11 Pro, completely on different planets. This one has the space zoom 100 times. It's a 4 times optical periscope zoom system. In my testing, it performed marvelously. So this camera captured more information, of course, higher megapixels, 108 if you're shooting at the max resolution. You're getting 8K video. Shooting with this, I can actually enjoy this video on an 8K TV behind me. It's definitely the superior sensor, and I'm excited to capture some memories with a camera that's more future-proof. One thing I'll miss though on the iPhone is Apple's Photos app. They've made even more adjustments to it in 13.4. I'll miss Apple's refinement. But then again, I'm gonna give One UI 2 a chance. I think it'll be a much smoother experience than last year. There was nothing fundamentally wrong with the S10 Plus, it just didn't really wow me, and in the way that the S20 Ultra is wowing me already. Another thing I'd like to mention, the camera issues on the S20 Ultra. So Samsung has came out and admitted that they are working on a software fix for the autofocus issues, been noticed by many reviewers, and definitely don't wanna miss or ruin any shots that couldn't be replaced. So I hope that they release an update for that quickly. Otherwise, I am waiting for another software update for the 120 Hertz mode. Max Weinbach has said that it'll be available in Quad HD. So that'll drain the battery life like no other. But in the few weeks of testing that I've been doing in 120 Hertz, haven't really noticed any big drops in battery life. They say the difference officially is 3 hours, but with such a big battery inside already, I don't think it'll be much of a concern. Also regarding speed, smartphones have reached a point where speed isn't really even a factor anymore. Both phones in the speed test were quick. This phone has now had adequate time for all of the developers to update the apps. Not gonna be an issue. I'm genuinely excited on this new little mini journey, seeing what it's like on the other side after reviewing Apple for so long. I'm definitely not quitting Apple. I'll still be covering all the videos, but for the next 2 weeks, I have to use this phone. That's like my mission. I'm doing it. So what will I miss? Number one, Airdrop. Between my Mac Pro and my iPhone, Airdrop is huge, but Max Weinbach introduced me to snapdrop.net, which is a very cool alternative. It works fantastically. You can go into your gallery, drop a photo, and this is from Samsung to an iPhone. Okay, definitely not faster. And that's a perfect replacement for Airdrop. So I appreciate this very much. We're not getting iMessage. There are some servers that you could still do something similar to it, but unfortunately, I'm gonna have to become that green guy for literally like 90% of my friends that use iPhones. I'm not necessarily excited leaving my AirPod Pros. I love these, but from what I'm hearing, the Galaxy Buds Plus, fantastic battery life, way better than the AirPods Pro, and I love that you can actually charge them on the back of your phone. A feature that Apple didn't add to the iPhone for whatever reason. On the go, you can quickly charge your things or another smartphone. That is cool. So something I hope we get on this year's iPhone, but we'll see. I'll report back in 2 weeks with my review on the S20 Ultra, but I think I'm gonna like it. And it pretty much does almost everything I need it to. The notes, iMessage, number one things I'm gonna miss. Otherwise, it's the same thing. It's just as fast. Okay, not the same thing, but close. Also, if the Z Flip contained the S20 Ultra specs, I would much rather use this phone. I love this. Perfect little phone to impress people with at a party. I love it. I don't know why this thing gets some hate online. This is true innovation right here. And you know that Apple's gonna follow up with something very similar. One other thing I'd like to address is the sales of the S20 Ultra. They have not been doing very well. Apparently the sales are very lackluster compared to the S10 Plus last year. Some could say it was the very expensive price tag, the $1,400. It's almost ridiculous at this point how crazy these phones are getting in price. And this right here, the moment I betray Apple. I've been with them for so long. Time to go Team Samsung. My first Samsung smartphone was the Google Nexus, and that was amazing. At the time, it was so much more futuristic than Apple's version with a curved display. I love that phone. I don't think this will be a bad experience at all, other than some of the services I lose. We're good to go. Let's start this experiment. Unfortunately, I'm not living in a 5G area, so I don't get to test that feature out, which I'm very excited to test. Otherwise, I get this massive display, more futuristic design, better camera, possibly better battery life, and a few other things I'm looking forward to on the S20 Ultra. First off is the fingerprint sensor. So the in-screen fingerprint sensor, as you can see, boots straight into the phone, no animation. I love that Samsung's so good about that. The unlocking situation is just all around faster. I like that this will compound over time. Seems faster and more efficient for me. Of course, Face ID is safer versus Samsung's Face Unlock, but I like that you can just quickly pop in with no animation. And I'm switching over to the Active 2 Galaxy Watch. So far, I am not liking the user experience compared to the Apple Watch. It's a much more complex system, and I'm frequently encountering lag on the Active 2. So I'll be testing this more, but I'm not liking it so far. And of course, the whole point of this phone is the 5G connectivity. It's so limited in the US right now, just a blanket cover on a select few cities. I'm very disappointed by that, as it's one of the biggest selling points of this device. And by the time 5G does roll out everywhere, is this going to be using some outdated technology compared to the new Qualcomm XT60 modem? And remember, I am doing the giveaway for 3 S20 Ultras. Links down below, just a few days left on that. Good luck. All right, guys, wish me luck. Peace.